So if we circle back to melodic minor over dominant, the first key we talked about was that seventh mode again, which translates into melodic minor, chord scales, arpeggios a half step above. I would also argue that we can play major a half step above, Mike, and that is C Phrygian minor. So that's minor with a flat 2 and a flat 6, but we could also think of that as C7, couldn't we? Because it's just sus, flat 9 and sharp 5. So if I go back and forth between C sharp major and C sharp melodic minor, I'm just changing the third. So I've got, there's my major and melodic minor together. Here's my C, C sharp major. I'm just kind of playing mechanical versions of the arpeggio so that you can hear it. So. So major, straight up major, melodic minor. So all I'm doing is changing the third. You can do that too, I'm sure.
So you're doing C sharp melodic minor and just C sharp major, combining the two?
Correct. Yeah, it could also be Lydian if you wanted to. Then it's a little less tension. So C sharp Lydian is a nice C major, that's a nice C dominant too. So that could be C Phrygian minor if we're referencing a C minor, or it could be C dominant if I'm referencing. So we can essentially reinterpret C sharp major to sound like C Phrygian minor, where we're referencing minor thirds, or C7 if we're referencing major thirds. Now that E flat also could function as a sharp 9 in C, so there's a little bit of a kind of an overlap and some gray area here. But I would argue that it's kind of fun to go back and forth between major and melodic minor a half step above a dominant.
Yeah,
they're both versions of C7, yes? Now we can do the same thing in B flat. So B flat melodic minor translates into the second mode of the melodic minor. If we're playing melodic minor ideas a whole tone below a dominant. So this gives us the sus, gives us the F and the A. So it's this 13 with the sus. Those are not tensions. And depending on whether we're playing the scale or the arpeggio, we're referencing raised and lowered nines. So this is, again, C7, and now B flat melodic minor. So now if I play B flat major, as you well know, this is just pure sus, right? I'll put the original third in from C major and a little bit of B flat on the top. So I can go back and forth between B flat major and B flat melodic minor over C7, just like I can go back and forth between C sharp major and C sharp. It's all C7. So again, we want to reference enough of the original dominant arpeggio that we're hearing. That is my B flat major as a I suggested earlier that we're not talk and play at the same time. I'm breaking my own rule here. Here's B flat major as C sus. It could also be Lydian, then it just becomes just a straight up 13. So B flat major to B flat melodic minor just becomes, again, ending on the C, so we hear some resolution sometimes. So both, you try a little for me. Try a little B flat. I'd love to hear your take on B flat major and B flat melodic minor.
So when you say major, are you're thinking Lydian typically?
Yeah, Lydian or Ionian. I mean, if you're playing Lydian, then the third comes back in, Mike. Mm-hmm. Either one could work. And the same thing also applies to C sharp. So we have a little less tension if we're playing Lydian in either key versus Ionian. But I think they're absolutely both going to work. Mm-hmm. So if you want the sus sound, stick to Ionian. If you want to make it Lydian, then that F in the key of B flat just drops down to an E. Then we have the major third again in C. Mm-hmm. But you were playing some very nice ideas right there.
And for people listening too, typically, like if you're going to do, let's say you have C7 and you're doing the B flat melodic minor, that is one of the better choices for like a C7 sus flat 9 chord, right? Typically. Yeah, because I've had students before always bring up that chord. Like that seems to be a chord that a lot of people will, encounter, and they just don't know what to do over it. And typically that, I would say, that's normally the scale of choice, right?
It gives you exactly that sound. And we can also reference the major third of C, which is not contained in the B flat with that. I really love that combination of 13 flat 9. You can also think of that just as a straight up A triad, which is not the sus anymore. And then we have the E again, but an A triad also gives you. So I would think if you want sus, either sus flat 9 with the 13 or straight up 13 flat 9, think either melodic minor or whole tone below, as you just demonstrated, or triad a half step below that. So here's a pretty common move just with a B flat to an A triad with a C and a B flat in the bass. We can do the same thing with B flat melodic minor chords as you just demonstrated. So there's that sus and the 13 and the flat 9. Yeah, I've got the 6 in there as well. So I have the C and the G, and then the B flat melodic minor on top.
Oh, nice.
There's another one. You probably, yeah. Do you know this version of minor major 9? Probably. That's it. You know, you and I are kind of on the same page harmonically, Mike. We think alike in a lot of these things. So let's